The sun was barely up when the three friends reached the edge of Clearwater Lake. Mist hovered above the water, curling like smoke over glass, and the air carried that mix of mud, dew, and pine that smelled like adventure waiting to happen. Marcus slung his backpack to the ground and grinned. "This is it, boys. By sunset, we're crossing that lake on our raft." His friend Leo squinted across the wide stretch of water. "Or sinking halfway and swimming back." Jared chuckled, tightening the strap on his wristwatch. "We're not sinking. I watched 4 tutorials last night." 4. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "And that makes you an engineer now?" "Better than the guy who thinks duct tape is waterproofing," Jared shot back. The three of them laughed. It was the kind of banter they'd perfected since childhood, playful, reckless, and full of that blind confidence that made ideas like building a raft out of bamboo seem reasonable. They had a challenge to prove, not to anyone else but to themselves. By mid-morning, the clearing near the lake was a construction site of chaos. Piles of bamboo poles lay in uneven stacks, twine and rope scattered in the grass, and one badly bent handsaw squealed through each cut. Marcus, always the dreamer, took charge of design. Leo handled structure. He was the perfectionist, the one who measured twice and still didn't trust it. And Jared? He was the fixer. The guy who said, "It'll hold," before anything had been tested. "This," Marcus said proudly, standing over their first frame, "is going to float like a cloud." Leo eyed it skeptically. If clouds weighed 300 pounds and didn't have balance. "It's fine," Jared insisted, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Once we tie the barrels underneath, it'll be perfect." They'd borrowed 3 old plastic drums from a nearby farm, each half rusted and questionable at best. Leo filled one with water as a test. It leaked from a pinhole near the rim. "Guess we found the weak link," he said dryly. Jared shrugged. "Nothing a little duct tape can't fix." Leo sighed. "That's what you said about your phone charger and it caught fire." Details, Jared replied with a grin. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, burning through the mist, and by noon the raft had taken shape. A rectangle of bamboo poles lashed tightly with rope, each drum fastened beneath to act as buoyancy tanks. It wasn't pretty. It leaned slightly to one side. The ropes creaked when stepped on. But it looked possible. And for them that was enough. Marcus stepped back to admire it. "Gentlemen," he said dramatically, "the SS Hope is ready for launch." Leo blinked. "You named it?" "Of course. Every vessel needs a name." "Hope's a good one," Jared said. "We'll need plenty of it." They dragged the raft to the edge of the lake, each pulling and heaving until the front logs touched the water. For a second it seemed like the world held its breath. Then with a soft splash the bamboo frame floated. Marcus raised both arms. "See? Told you." Leo crouched beside it, pushing down on the edge. It dipped, then rose again. "It's holding." Jared grinned. "Only one way to know for sure." He stepped onto it. The raft shifted, creaked, but stayed afloat. Leo followed next, then Marcus. 3 grown men standing on a hand-built bamboo platform, barely 8 feet long, balanced over 30 feet of deep water. They looked at each other, wide smiles, shaky knees, wild hearts. "All right," Marcus said, gripping a bamboo pole like an oar. "Let's make history." The first few minutes were smooth. The raft glided gently away from shore, rippling the reflection of pine trees and clouds across the lake's surface. Jared laughed. "Can you believe this? We actually did it." Leo, still crouched, muttered, "Don't jinx it." But then crack. Everyone froze. One of the ropes on the right side snapped loose. The raft tilted slightly. Marcus steadied his stance. Okay, minor setback." "Minor?" Leo hissed. "We're listing." Jared leaned toward the edge, tightening the rope. "Relax. I can fix it." Another snap. This time the sound came from beneath. One of the barrels had slipped loose, bobbing away like a lazy balloon. The raft began to wobble violently. Marcus gripped his pole tighter. "New plan. Everyone sit." They dropped to their knees just as a small wave rocked the platform. The water splashed over the bamboo, cool against their legs. "Still floating," Jared said nervously. "Barely," Leo muttered. The raft continued to drift, spinning slightly. The shore looked farther now. "Should we turn back?" Leo asked. Marcus hesitated. "Not yet. We've come this far." But the lake had other plans. The wind picked up, pushing the raft toward the deeper center. Waves slapped the sides harder, splashing over their tools. The bamboo began to groan under shifting weight. "Marcus," Jared called, voice tense, "we're not exactly steering anymore." "I know." Marcus yelled back. "Keep it balanced." Leo tied what ropes he could, hands moving fast. We're losing another drum. The second barrel broke free, twisting away into the lake. The raft lurched violently, water rushed across the bamboo deck. For a moment, silence. Then Jared laughed, loud and reckless. Well, he said between breaths, at least we know the answer. Marcus stared at him. What answer? Jared grinned. Will it sink? The raft dipped again. Leo shouted, we're about to find out. They made it halfway across before the raft began to unravel completely. Each knot that had held strong for hours suddenly loosened. Bamboo rolled under their weight. The third barrel was barely hanging on, water sloshing inside. Marcus shouted, grab the paddle. Leo clutched the rope, teeth clenched. There is no paddle, just sticks. Then use the sticks. They pushed, rowed, fought the drift, laughing and panicking all at once. The raft was now more wreckage than vessel, but none of them were ready to give up. Finally, Leo yelled, forget the raft. Swim for it. Marcus looked at the sinking bamboo beneath his knees. You serious? Jared nodded. It's either that or we become fish food. They leapt together, plunging into the cold, dark lake. The water bit at their skin, but adrenaline drowned out the chill. They kicked hard, swimming toward the distant glimmer of shore. Behind them, the raft tilted, shuddered, and went under. A trail of bubbles rose to the surface. Then silence. This hope was gone. By the time they crawled back onto land, soaked and gasping, the sun was dipping behind the trees. They collapsed in the grass, dripping, exhausted, and laughing so hard it hurt. Jared rolled onto his back. Well, he said, that didn't go as planned. Leo groaned. You think? Marcus sat up, dripping water onto the dirt. It floated for a while. That's something. Leo shook his head, still smiling despite himself. You're insane. Maybe, Marcus said, but you're both crazy enough to follow. They looked at each other, muddy, bruised but alive. And somewhere in the mess of failure, something felt like victory. Because the raft may have sunk, but the lesson didn't. As twilight settled, Leo spoke softly. You know what, Marcus? What? I think you were right. About what? About trying. About not waiting until everything's perfect before we start. Marcus smiled faintly. You don't build a raft to stay on shore. Jared chuckled, sitting up. Next time though, maybe we start with, I don't know, would that doesn't leak. They all burst out laughing. Behind them, the lake shimmered in the fading light, calm again as if nothing had happened. Marcus stood, hands on his hips. Tomorrow, he said, we build version 2. Leo groaned. You're kidding. Dead serious. Jared grinned. All right, Captain. But next time I'm naming it. Deal? Marcus said. Just promise me one thing. What's that? That no matter how many times it sinks, we keep building. The others nodded, smiling under the orange sky. Because sometimes life's best adventures don't end in success. They end in stories worth retelling, stories that remind you what it means to float, even when everything else goes under.